Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of OTH Sports View. I'm JP Butler, joined by Sam Wilson. Sean Campbell is on assignment today. Today we bring you a season closing episode for our Big 30 baseball and softball teams. The season concluded a week ago with the Genesee Valley baseball team, the last one standing, in the state Final Four for the second consecutive year. We had a Big 30 team represented there. Last year it was Andover softball. And in this first week on break here, on summer break, so to speak, we thought we'd take a look back, talk about the three teams that captured sectional titles, and also our major award winners and all-stars, which were announced on Sunday. So we'll get right into it. We had two baseball teams bring back sectional championships. One, Bolivar Richburg. You saw them along the way. This was their third sectional title in the last 4 years. Yep. Bolivar Richburg, clearly one of the baseball powers in our area. What did you see with them, and how were they able to kind of make it a third this year?
Well, I think it's kind of business as usual with them. It's not really that new to win a sectional championship. They were in that state Final Four, I think, 2 years ago. And this year they were just solid all year long. They ended up 19-3. They had two Big 30 All-Stars, starting with the ace of the staff, Alan Murphy, who was just excellent all year. 8-1 on the mound, 1.20 ERA. You know, eight wins. A lot of kids around here don't get 8 starts, just the way the schedule breaks down. Right. But he was reliable all year for them. Lewis Pettit being the other all-star, middle infielder, just a junior, and a very solid hitter. Hit over 600 actually in the regular season. Right. They beat Oakfield, Alabama in a tight game. Murphy pitched in that one. Our colleague Sean covered that game. And then they lost a similar game, a similar close game to Avon in the state qualifier for the C overall title. Right. Just another very solid year from that,
which we've certainly come to expect. And one of their opponents, I think they played twice this year, Genesee Valley, although a class down, was the other team we had mentioned, bringing home a sectional title this year. And really, from the end of the season, regular season on, they were great. And they get the sectional championship. They win the crossover game. They win that Far West regional game over a Westfield team that was very good, coming in. They actually ended up kind of handling that Westfield team over in Jamestown in the Far West regional.
And that was surprising for me, just because I saw how well Westfield pitched against Franklinville a couple rounds before in the Section 6 semifinal.
Right.
Yeah.
And then to get to the Final Four, which was a tough game, but certainly even just getting to that point was great. And again, it was behind a couple of all-stars. Cooper Weinman, probably one of the best players in the Big 30, and maybe one of the ones you don't hear a lot about. Kid's just a flat-out baseball player.
Oh yeah.
He's one of their top pitchers, if not maybe their ace. He's probably their best hitter. He can play the field. I think he plays shortstop when he's not pitching. He just looks, he gets dirty.
He's fast.
He's always dirty. He's fast. He steals a lot of bases. He looks the part. And then, again, the likes of Carson Warner in that lineup, and Vinny Biancuzzo, I think he's their cleanup hitter, and Carter Schneider and his brother Cody, who was great in the playoffs, and he's only an 8th grader.
Wow.
I think he was in the sectional championship game. He had a 4-hit day as an 8th grader. And so it was interesting with them, during the regular season, they didn't beat some great teams at that Class D level in Allegheny County, but their only losses came to, the likes of Bolivar Richburg and Wellsville, who are, two great C and B teams.
Yeah.
So you didn't really know, but once they got into that D part of it, they really showed themselves as being
sure.
one of the best teams. And keeping it on the baseball side before we get over to softball, a couple of teams, other teams that had good years that maybe didn't quite get there, or came up a little bit short, but still a good year nonetheless. The Olean High baseball team, we know that was kind of a stunning exit for them. Franklinville baseball. They lost in the semifinals, but they had one of their best years probably in program history.
Yeah, and last year they won a division title for the first time in a long time, and this year they just kept adding on to that success, and obviously they made the sectional semifinal, as we alluded to. They've been. It's remarkable the turnaround they've had under Mark Bleacha, their coach.
And who is that kind of? They're another team that had a lot of pieces, and I think some really good kids at the top there.
Oh yeah, they have a lot of young kids who will come back. Their only big 30 All-Star was Dooley Brennan, their catcher, who's a very solid hitter, and catcher's a position. What you get one of those kids, it's really valuable. Not a lot of kids can play that. Right. And at the top of the staff, Brock Bleacha, their starting pitcher, just a sophomore this year.
Right. Yeah. So he'll certainly be another just a real good athlete, good baseball player.
Oh yeah.
And then over on the softball side, we had one team bring home a sectional title, and that was Franklinville. Mm-hmm. A great season for them, an expectedly great season for them with the two Haskell sisters there, and Allie Haskell, and what she brings is one of the best pitchers in the Big 30. They won a sectional title for the first time since 1991. They made it to the Far West Regional game. I did that game. It was a pitcher's duel for a while. They were right there in it. They end up losing 4-0. They end up getting perfect gamed in that game, which I wasn't. I don't even think Alan Dunlap was expecting the bats to go quite that silent. But, in that one, it was, Allie Haskell had gotten injured a couple of games before
I believe that was in the sectional final.
Right, and she'd hurt her shoulder in that sectional final.
Oh, yeah.
She ends up pitching a completely different style, but they win the game. She had taken the entire week off in between, the Far West Regional, but she's still able to come back and give them a pretty good effort, just in a loss, but still, a great season. And another team that had reached the sectional final was the Wellsville softball team, which boasted the Girls Player of the Year in Amy Lorschbaugh, and a Class B team that played a really good schedule, and they went undefeated against the Big 30 teams that they played. Just kind of came up short in the sectional championship game in softball. We want to switch over now to the All-Stars and the major award winners. Those were announced on Sunday. They were in our paper on Sunday. A good collection of talent on both sides again. Mm-hmm. In baseball, we know there were a couple of names there, but our player of the year ended up going to Jake Cabana from Olean High.
Yeah, and I talked with Jake when we had our photo shoot here, and Coach Matt Threehouse, and that's a team that had, as we said, a ton of regular season success. This season ended sooner than probably anyone involved thought it would, but that you really can't take away from what Jake did all year. He was excellent on the mound, a sub-1 ERA. I think it was .29, and excellent shortstop, does pretty much anything you could want from a player. Threehouse compared him to Dustin Pedroia, and I don't know if he's going to be playing for the Boston Red Sox one day, but he's the same size, and he does everything. Yeah, all those intangibles, which sometimes you can call cliches, but I think they're true with a kid like that. Right. And the other candidates for that award.
I was going to say, who else is maybe kind of in
I think nominated. There was Dylan Buchholz, the senior catcher for Oswego Valley, and certainly with the success they had, undefeated regular season, won another division title, just an excellent catcher, 78% caught on throwing kids out.
Right, which is hard to do at the high school level. We
talked
about before we went on today.
Yeah, and he gets on base. Really, the most consistent, steady part of that team. That also they had two other Big 30 All-Stars, so it wasn't all him, but he was a big part of it.
Yeah, I think that Oswego Valley was the most represented on that team with the three.
And Nevada Waterman being the other candidate. Nominee for that award from Coudersport. He's going to be playing at RIT And he was actually the NAL Player of the Year, not Buchholz or any of the kids from Oswego Valley. They were second place in the league, but I think that speaks to the caliber of player he was.
Right, and if they're giving it to a player like Waterman over the league champion and clearly the best team in that league over the last 2 years.
Oh yeah.
Waterman really, and I've heard it from coaches that he really must be the real deal. You know, as a pitcher.
Yeah, as a pitcher, we had down here a 2.12 ERA. He was obviously the ace for that team, and he didn't strike out at all this season. 82 at bats, no strikeouts.
Wow. That's another good baseball player. You don't see that.
No, not at all.
You don't see that. Yeah. And then over on the softball side, as I mentioned before, the Player of the Year went to Amy Lorschbaugh from Wellsville, who had a really great year for a good Class B Wellsville team. She had 162 strikeouts and 141 innings pitched, 3 1-hitters, 3 2-hitters, 9 shutouts, 1.43 ERA, pretty good hitter as well, hit 405. And again, for a team that reached a sectional championship game. And this was another one where it really could have gone, you know, I think in some years there's a clear-cut winner, you know, I mean, any of our sports that we do, but this year was really open for debate. And so, you know, and the other two were Allie Haskell, as I mentioned, who just had incredible numbers for a team that went 17-4, did win a sectional title. She had 294 strikeouts just this season. Yeah. And we talked about that. I did it right before we came in. That's an average of 14 a game,
That's
actually.
insane.
So for her, and she's just a sophomore. So certainly,
and she's a 4-timer, just as on the All-Star team.
4-time All-Star as a sophomore.
That's just that's insanity.
And that was something else I wanted to mention, that in doing the story, I found there are a couple of interesting things on the softball side. One, this award's been given out every year since 2006 or 2005. This is the first year that the Player of the Year didn't come from or was shared by somebody from Olean or Butler-Richburg. Wow. It had always gone to one of the two or both, or they shared it. I think in one year they shared it with a girl from Smethport. And so that was interesting. And for the first time, we had a 4-time All-Star, and not just one. It was also Cammie McCracken from Portville, who was the other name, you know, nominated for Player of the Year, and Brooke Kane Walker from Smethport. Smethport's been one of our great programs. She's been kind of the ace, I think, really all her high school career. Oh, yeah. And so I don't know if that's ever happened on the baseball side. I don't know if you happen to see that, but
no, there was a handful, I think 5 or 6 multi-All-Stars. All the 3 Player of the Year candidates were multiple All-Stars, but no one approaching.
And that. I don't even know if, you know, historically there's been a 4-time All-Star in baseball. Yeah. There were 3 in softball this year, and as I mentioned, Cammie from Portville was another Player of the Year candidate, and really for her, you know, with the offense and the home runs, she had the ability to change games for Portville.
That's an award that typically goes to a pitcher, because a pitcher can dominate that sport, and it speaks to what she does at the plate, that she could be a candidate for that award.
You know, as an offensive player, but you know, again, another 11 home runs this year for a Portville team that had its best year since the early 90s. And then she finished her career with, I believe it was 31 or 32 home runs to finish 5th, tied for 5th all time in state history, and 2nd best in Section 6 history.
That's remarkable.
And so when you really take that into consideration, that's why she was certainly nominated to get it. And so there were some great you know, softball players there as well. But as we said, we've wrapped up another season. We are now into our summer mode here before our Big 30 football season starts up in everything we do in August. Yeah. But we'll be back over the summer with more Oilers, maybe some St. Bonaventure basketball off-season
Could be some
talk
off-season news,
and the like. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.